Coming up, find out what the gaming bill means for the financial sector and you.
A man is killed in broad daylight.
And our men's national volleyball team gets some help. The Bahamas Tonight, the National Report, starts now.
Now in HD. ZNS Network presents The Bahamas Tonight. This portion of the news brought to you by BTC Every Day.
The gaming bill now on its way to the Senate after passing in the House of Assembly. Good evening, everyone. I'm Candino Knowles.
And I'm Opal Roach. Well, when the votes were tallied, 25 on the government side voted yes, while the PLP's Andre Rawlins joined members of the opposition in voting no. Bambootown MP Renwood Wells did as he promised and left the chamber. But before the passage of the bill, Prime Minister the Right Honorable Perry Christie wrapped up debate, saying the legislation will transform the country into a leading gaming destination. Our Clint Watson has tonight's top story.
The economic impact from the regularization of web shops and a modernized gaming industry will be considerable. That's according to Prime Minister the Right Honorable Perry Christie as he gave his 3-hour wrap-up on the gaming debate in the House of Assembly Monday afternoon. The country stands to benefit from more than $50 million initially.
Penalties, bad business license fees, and application fees payable during the transition period are expected to yield some $25 million. On an annual basis during the first full year of operation, the hire of a gaming tax at the rate of 11%, gaming tax plus 2%, social contributions and annual monitoring fees are expected to yield some $22 million. On a gaming tax of 25% of earnings before deduction of interest, taxes, depreciation, amortization, expected to yield some $29 million. The economic impact of modernization of casino games, the introduction of proxy mobile and interactive gaming, the institution of a range of new application licensing and monitoring fees are expected to yield some additional $3 million to the public purse in the full year of operations.
Current levels of employment are around 3,000, and they will be sustained with new opportunities for jobs at casinos, web shops, and the restructured gaming board. The cost to prepare and research the bill was around $1 million, a tab mainly paid for by web shop and casino operators.
Display of licenses on all licensed premises will similarly play a key role in the context of law enforcement, enabling the Royal Bahamas Police Force to identify unlicensed operations with ease and to take decisive action when the law is breached.
During a transitional period, there must be full finance disclosure. All fees must be paid for up to 6 years, and the penalty fee must also be satisfied.
Our gaming legislation withstands even the most vigorous scrutiny by incorporating all the internationally mandated controls required to insulate it from money laundering and terrorist-related activity.
With the bill one step away from becoming law, Mr. Christie had this bit of advice for web shop operators.
They will owe this country a tremendous degree of responsible behavior and conduct. They're going to have to see themselves, Mr. Speaker, as leading examples of how to conduct oneself given the preeminent position that they will ascend to in this economy.
Before wrapping up, the Prime Minister had strong words for those on his side who oppose the bill, reminding them that in order to be a part of the team, there will be times when they must give in, as long as it does not compromise their integrity. Clint Watson, ZNS Network News.
And still on gaming news, the government is also regulating web shops to keep our financial services sector in line with international standards.
That's right. While wrapping up debate on the gaming bill, Prime Minister the Right Honorable Perry Christie pointed out just how significant this bill, once it becomes law, would be in protecting the Bahamas from any international sanctions. Here's LaDawn Davis.
Mr. Perry Christie says the international community is placing a heightened focus on casinos and gaming, and that's why his government is shoring up the sector through strengthened policies that fight money laundering and related financial crimes, including the financing of terrorism. He says the Bahamas has not been exempted, evident by a planned visit of representatives from an international agency.
Within the Organization of American States, Mr. Speaker, there exists a committee of experts for the mechanism for follow-up on the implementation of the Inter-American Convention Against Corruption. That committee will be making an on-site evaluation of the Bahamas over the period September 23rd to 25th, 2014. That's in days. This on-site, Mr. Speaker, visit is to determine our level of compliance with the provisions of that convention.
Mr. Christie says the Caribbean Financial Action Task Force has taken an interest in the area of gaming and what the Bahamas will do to regulate the entire sector. And with the Bahamas serving as chairman through the Attorney General, it has placed an urgency towards the country's urgency in ensuring compliance.
As I indicated this morning, we'll be undergoing a full national risk assessment in November of next year to assess our degree of compliance with the requirements of the Financial Action Task Force. This assessment is a starting point for identifying areas of risk. The operations of the web shops will be scrutinized in this context, as the world community is fully aware of this informal sector that generates sizable sums of money on a daily basis.
If the CFTAF came to a negative conclusion, there could be a serious fallout and dire consequences for our economic prosperity. The nation's chief added that clearing bank institutions are also concerned about unregulated operations of web shops in this country.
The governor of the central bank has also voiced her concerns about the unregulated operations of the web shops, not only in terms of our compliance with international requirements, but also as to their nefarious impacts on the domestic financial system through informal and unregulated lending activities. Our commercial banks have also taken a prudent approach to dealing with the web shops, which is fully understandable in light of the international constraints within which they operate.
LaDawn Davis, ZNS Network News.
Well, government is one step closer to legalizing web shop gambling after the gaming bill was passed with a 25-7 vote in the House of Assembly Monday evening. Today, the nation's youth among those weighing in on government's move to regulate the underground gaming industry that has gone unregulated for the past 60 years. We spoke with several residents who strongly object to the move, while others say they understand why it is being done. Also included in the bill were provisions to modernize the local casino industry. Resident Bahamians will still be barred from gambling in the house, in casinos that is, but the gaming minister has the power to change that. Residents say it is unfair.
I would have felt better if they just implemented it in the first place and saying, oh, please vote for this. Then we vote and then say, well, we're just going to go ahead and do it anyway.
The variety of people be into number and gambling, and that it's a good function for making money. Some people don't like it because they don't gamble, as if ain't nothing happening for them in it or out of it. But I think it's a good idea.
I feel bad about it because the no vote, they say no is no. You know, they're going against the people.
It's a pro and a con, because then if you go against it, then a lot of people will be out of jobs, and then the country could go bankrupt. It's already in a lot of debt.
If you want to pass a legal, if you want to pass a gambling law, everyone should be able to gamble over anywhere in the Bahamas.
I mean, if you allowing us to gamble on the streets, then why you don't want them gamble in the casinos? You know? It's still a contradiction.
I do not gamble, but if they want to gamble, it's up to them. If they want to take their money and put it down to chance, lose it or win it, it's up to them. But I do not gamble.
Well, a report on the multi-billion-dollar gaming industry in the Bahamas suggests that more than 100,000 people play every single day. President of Creative Works, Peter Adderley, says his team was contracted to carry out the 3-month study. Adderley says what also came as a surprise was the amount of web shops on the Family Islands.
It's the lone Family Island that we found where there were no gaming implications was Ragged Island. Every other island, there's some form of gaming going on. And the major operators are here in New Providence. There are more than 15 operators, and there are more than 120 outlets in New Providence, with mass concentration in the Fox Hill, Carmichael Road areas.
And coming up, urban renewal giving second chances.
And later on in sports, big news coming from the Bahamas Olympic Committee. Find out what it means for the Bahamas. You're watching The Bahamas Tonight.
This segment of the news is brought to you by Shell Quality Fuels.